Welcome, and thank you for joining me. There's so much to discuss. And over the past day or so, we've heard, again, so much about the promise of AI. I want to get to the heart of the issue, get into really specifics around value, about use cases within business, and what's working and what's not working. So, Angelica, I want to start with you with that question. What are you seeing as the most valuable applications of AI within procurement and supply chain?
Right. Thank you, Melanie. And first of all, great to be here. And it's a fascinating topic. It has been a great discussion yesterday, and today it's even going deeper to the AI topics. While in PepsiCo, we're addressing embracing AI and, across all business processes de facto. I'll zoom in the supply chain area, starting from like a classical dimensions in terms of plan, then manufacture, then logistics or delivery. In planning activities, I just pick up a few use cases to illustrate. So one of the use case which we're using in the planning activities is using AI and computer vision to embrace and increase the quality of the cheetahs. So I'm sure many of you like this product, which we are very proud of. So just imagine that there is thousands of tons of little cheetahs going through the line, and every single piece needs to be the right quality. So, and this is all getting monitored real time with the fascinating speed. The color, the shape, the texture of these cheetahs is getting monitored through the vision capabilities. Then AI brain connected to this is making analysis and real-time adjustments of the production lines. So this is actually guaranteeing that every time when you open the bag, you have a right quality of the cheetahs, and it's eliminating any manual interventions in this one. So it's an example of the total automation. Other example I can pick up is planning activities, which I'm very big fan of. And this is about the prediction, using the predicting AI capabilities to predict demand of our customers. So we do the activities in this space, and de facto, AI has a greater capability to analyze the data in the past, predict in the future, and then we also incorporate different factors which involved in driving the demand, which such as seasonality for the seasonal products. And this is helping to predict the spikes and eliminate or optimize your supply chain downstreams.
Fantastic.
So that's another example which I would like.
I'm sure we could.
I can go on and go on. Yeah.
I think it's fascinating to hear. And Ashish, I want to come to you just to build on that a little bit. Are we seeing, what within the AI space, there's so many different types of AI technologies. And of course, I want to make a distinction between newer Gen AI and more established traditional AI solutions. Is it that one is tried and tested and the other is still experimental? What are your thoughts in terms of application and what that means for applications as well?
See, right now, the way AI is being looked at is it'll solve for everything in the world. Right. Any issue you have, you throw AI at it. But I think it's important to look at what's the range of technologies available, and it's a full continuum. It starts from transaction processing systems to optimization systems to RPAs, robotic process automations. You have simulators and digital twins. You have machine learning, and then you have the latest kid on the block, Gen AI. So I think the way we think of this entire piece in Landmark is that the vision where we want to get to is fixed, and we use a mix of all of these technologies. I'll give you a few examples of how we look at that, also to bring use cases to life. For example, in the optimization and digital twin space, we do a lot of vehicle optimizations, route optimizers, fleet optimizers. We have one of the largest and most automated warehouses across this region in Dubai, which is called the Mega DC. There we have a digital twin which simulates with parameters in terms of how the operations should be run. Then we have started a pilot around machine learning, which is like the supply chain that we run is very long. End-to-end, it's quite long. So it starts from manufacturing in China to then shipping, then custom clearance, and then warehousing, then transportation to the customer home, right till installing the furniture in the household of the customer. Now, damage to the product could happen at any point. Maybe the product is not designed right. Maybe the product is not packaged right. Or did the product break during the sea voyage, the road journey, in the warehousing, on the road, or by the carpenter in fixing the product? So right now what we're doing is we're looking at lots and lots of data, because we have item level data, looking at trends and seeing where is the probability that the product got damaged. The objective of this is to identify the place of failure and then correct it very clinically at that place.
Can I just ask, so this is obviously using, say, more traditional AI that processes numerical data. Is it also leveraging Gen AI?
It's currently leveraging machine learning.
Right.
Gen AI we've started using in the space of customer experience.
Sure.
Like the natural language processing, NLP. So we have comments across various languages from customers in the customer feedback, looking at converting and translating those comments. Just a simple translation tends to you lose the essence of the message.
Right.
But doing a proper translation, then drawing trends out of it to see what is it that the customers are saying, so that we can give them a better experience.
Is this still experimental in your opinion?
We started the pilots. The pilots have been successful.
Okay.
Now we are scaling up. We are in that
Perfect.
phase.
We'll come back to that. John, I want to ask you as well, again, looking at what's really been most successful. When we were talking earlier, you talked about applications that really address a business problem. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, thank you, Melanie, and thank you everyone for joining the session here today. Yeah, I think, if we distinguish between what I'll call traditional or embedded AI versus generative AI, right? And I would argue that at least at SAP, we've been doing embedded and traditional AI for decades, right? You think about analytics, invoice processing, and sales and operations planning, some good examples of areas and use cases where we've been using AI for quite some time. But I want to talk about a couple new bleeding edge ones where we see our customers driving toward and forcing a software company like SAP to develop solutions in those areas. And the first one is around predictive maintenance. So we find that our customers spend so much money when a machine goes down. You have to shut the machine down. I think they call it turnaround, the time it takes, the money it takes, the lost revenue. So we're really looking at things like failure curve analysis to predict when a machine will likely break down. And that's really a hot topic for us that day. So that's more kind of embedded traditional AI. Another area in the supply chain. So at SAP, we have a business network of over 5 million suppliers. And a big part of our business is connecting those suppliers to buying organizations like PepsiCo and Landmark, right? So the buying organization and the suppliers need to connect so that they can make things digital. And what we're doing, it's really cool. And this is a combination of embedded and generative AI, but we're deconstructing the XML, the code, to kind of look at where suppliers, more so on the supply side, have had issues connecting to the buyers. And we're creating, with generative AI, templates and new code bases so that they can use to easily connect to their buying organizations. So that's one. Another one is the hot topic these days. I'm not sure I heard it here yesterday or today, but end tier. So your supplier. Everyone wants to know, I know my tier 1 supplier, but how do I get to know my tier 2, because that may well be where the issue resides. So for the end tier, we're actually looking at generative and embedded AI to kind of build that construct up from the product up. So looking at all the raw materials that go into the product, and then we can figure out which suppliers actually provide those products, and we can kind of build that chain of the end tier for our customers. So that's something I think is really pretty cool these days. So we're also combining that with public data, and that's where the generative comes in. So we're looking at things, it's really cool, like bill of ladings and product descriptions and articles, and we're combining all that together to build this end tier.
Okay.
The other one I think is really interesting. It's our probably best use case, I think, for generative AI, and it's in a solution we call category management. Category management's about building a vision and an action plan for a certain category, for a certain component. And what we do is we'll take the market data and we'll go comb the market data, and we'll take it into the system and we'll map it to like a CrowdStrike matrix that says, Is it a buyer's market? Is it a supplier's market? So instead of the user, and all this is done in spreadsheets today, but we have an application now that does it, and it'll pull this data in, and then it'll create, a strategy and initiatives based on all that information. So that's one of our, you click a button and the matrix is empty, and then it does its thing, and then boom, it populates the matrix based on that category. So that's really a cool thing that we're showing over at our booth over there.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
And I think in particular, just around, given how diversification is such a key theme for supply chain management, the ability to manage your supplier, have that visibility, again, is something that we've heard businesses are keen to prioritize. Tim, I want to come to you. At the forum, you have a broader view. It's not just a specific organization. What are you seeing in terms of the real transformational capabilities of AI?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I agree with John that AI has been around for 2 decades. And we owe the people who had the vision of seeing use cases even when the capabilities were still being developed. I remember Amazon, who filed their famous anticipatory shipping patent in 2013, December, where they had the vision of, imagine a customer ordering a TV or a laptop, clicks the button on his computer, and 10 minutes later the doorbell rings and it is delivered. And this is possible. Why? Because Amazon knows in advance the likelihood that in that neighborhood someone or several people who order this laptop is very high. So why not already send a courier out tomorrow? And what you see is, because if you look today, or like 11 years later, shipping times, delivery times have greatly increased, but still you see a very big dependency on the rest of the infrastructure. And I think especially in the transport capabilities and where AI can play a role, there's the biggest opportunity. Because once those two aligned, then the sky's the limit.
Fantastic. So we've had a lot of fun talking about all the fun applications, but now I want to get to the heart of actually getting it done, right? And Angelica, I want to come to you with a question about trust. There were a lot of discussions about trust. Trust is front and center. How do you trust the outputs from these models that can sometimes seem very opaque? How are you navigating it?
Yeah, it's adoption and trust together. It's a big topic actually, because this is really driving the value out of the implemented technology. So how we address this type of things? First of all, we involve, when we in the early stages of the program, we involve business. We start from talking with the critical business stakeholders and also the users, and identifying their pain points and what they really believe they need to be releasing, and where we can provide value for them. So this is all getting embedded in the objectives. Then we are also identifying the subject matter experts, or key subject matter experts from different functional groups. And these subject matter experts are involved in the early stages of the program as well. So we are actually teaching them, we are learning from them what is the business nuances which needs to be incorporated. And then they becoming a kind of extended arm of the program, if you will. So we're really relying on them, and we are engaging with them during the implementations. Then when the technology is getting live, there is a very important component of provide sensible visibility that users, the end users, can assess, and they can. So the black box concept is the scary one. Yeah. So when they're providing the visibility for the users and the logical chain, what is happening and where is this data is coming from. And one of the examples is that when we provide the predictive demand forecasting, we also provide the decomposition of the demand. So the users can see the drivers, and they can see those drivers over the period of times again and again. They're adopting to this. So first, I need to be honest, it starts from users trying to recheck everything.
Fantastic.
But then, over the time, they feel more confident. And once they feel more confident, they stop touching the stuff. So now we're pivoting from actually a lot of engagement of the users to the touchlessness, where users see that whatever they touch, they're not necessarily getting the value. So they're happy to be a little bit more hands-off, and concentrate their time and attention to something which is adding value.
You know, Angelica, that really echoes what we heard yesterday as well. Take your employees on that journey where involve them from the beginning to understand the model, understand the output, and over time, you'll gain more confidence. So I think it's brilliant that you're echoing that
If
as
I
well.
can add on this one, because like there is employees, which is practical users, but there are also decision makers in the organization, which is another level of trust you need to build. So people on the level of the presidents and GMs are making decisions where the AI has a big component of providing those insights.
Right.
So you really need to connect to their minds, make sure that you train them well, involve them to the process as well, that they actually feel confident of leveraging those insights to make those decisions.
Yeah, so because people are ultimately still accountable within the firm.
Yeah.
Ashish, I want to ask you about this as well. How are you navigating trust? What are you telling your teams? How are you telling your teams to navigate, all of these issues around the output? How do you trust it? What are you telling your teams?
So first of all, we didn't make it as a tech initiative.
Okay.
So what we said is we've embedded a small team inside supply chain, which is first of all trained all the people, the core functional experts on what does AI mean. And then that joint team came up with initiatives saying where can AI be deployed. So that right from identification of initiatives, the core functional leaders have taken the ownership. Now it becomes their baby, because if you just place a finished product in front of someone and say, go eat it or take it, then there will be a lot of resistance. So right from training them what are the various types of AI, to them identifying jointly with that small central team in terms of what are the initiatives that could be taken up, to developing prototypes, to testing it out. Because our objective is that if there's a separate division, which is an AI division, then the power of the knowledge and expertise that the functional leaders have will go completely waste, and it will become a fight rather than a trust. So it's been a lot of involvement. And of course, it's part of their KPIs, it's part of the entire monitoring and all of that. And secondly, what we said is there's a safe space to fail. Because the other piece that with anything new is what if it fails? So that piece also we've cleared, saying if you do your trials in not the peak times when the customer demand is very high. Do it in a small pilot so that even if it fails, nothing gets impacted to the larger business, but it's safe to fail.
Okay. Again, I think that really involves a cultural shift within the organization as well, and something leadership needs to emphasize, because I think that's easier said than done for sure. So an important point to note. John, I want to come to you with a question about data quality. On a panel I had yesterday, a panelist said, garbage in, garbage out, right? And we're hearing so much about the importance of data quality, but again, easier said than done. Do you have any thoughts on best practices around data management to ensure there's quality data going in, and then therefore the output is of high quality and credible?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the way data is everything, right? What do they say? In God we trust, but bring data if you don't have data. But the core principles that SAP looks at when we look at AI is, the first one, we call it the 3 R's. The first is reliability. So the AI is only good as the data and the platform that it sits on, the large language model, the machine learning. So that's number one. The second thing is responsible. So you have to come at it from a security, a privacy, ethics, compliance, and corporate governance standpoint. So that's the second R. But what I think is the most important is the third R, and that's relevance. And really what I think the application companies like SAP and Oracle and Workday need to do is really to bring this AI to life in real use cases, right? So, some of the things, the business context is really everything. So when you're able to match like public AI with your company's business data, that's where the magic happens. So I kind of look at it as like this 3 legs, right? We've all seen NVIDIA, right? And the GPUs the graphic processing units and the AI devices now, right? AI phones and AI laptops. That was, I think, like leg one. And this is just my philosophy about this. But the second one was about the hyperscalers. So the hyperscalers bought all the GPUs. They have all the data servers ready to go. So that was kind of leg two. And then I think the most important leg is the application part of it. So taking all of that processing power, AI, large language models, machine learning, and kind of matching it up and mapping it to your business data and having context and relevance. And I think that's like the key. That's the way we look at it, the 3 R's at SAP. Yeah.
Yeah, again, a very complex issue that I'm sure will dominate the conversations in the months and years ahead. Tim, I want to come to you with sort of another ingredient for success. While companies are trying to solve these issues and navigate them internally, there's an element of partnerships that are needed. We can't do this alone. What are your thoughts about the role of partnerships here and the success?
Yeah, that's a good one. Just a quick hook on what John was just mentioning.
Please.
Right? If I may.
Of course.
Or you actually suggested about the garbage in, garbage out about AIs. But I think there's a real threat that even if you have a lot of good data, a little bit of garbage may pollute the data set in such a way that actually the total output will be garbage, right? And it's referred to as adversarial machine learning, right? You can probably allude to this. But I think another reason for having partnerships is that the space is moving so fast, right? That we have to avoid creating little islands and therefore sub-optimize our learning capability as a world, as a whole. Because by sharing and having our brightest minds together, we can already think ahead of those kind of challenges that will come our way and that will impact our everyday lives. But on partnerships, the example that I was thinking of sharing is, I think most of us are familiar with TradeLens, which was a great initiative. And there's broad consensus that we need a global data exchange, trade data exchange platform. The same with global supply chain visibility. But these platforms, especially built by commercial entities, often fail. And the reason why they fail is because why does anyone, especially with commercial motives, want to share this to a commercial entity, potential competitor? And I think this is where private-public partnerships come together. We've, as the World Economic Forum, together with other neutral entities, support, for instance, the Twin Initiative, which will be a neutral, impartial data trade exchange platform. But there are other initiatives that we gladly put behind.
Okay. Again, very interesting.
I wanted to comment on that
Yeah.
too. I mean, I think from a partner standpoint, I don't think there's any one company that can do this alone, right? So even at SAP, we have a multitude, dozens of partners that we work with at different levels of AI, right? So there's the embedded piece. So we leverage Microsoft to embed directly in our products. But then there's custom machine learning and large language models and the hyperscalers. So, I think there's a myriad of partners and companies that really need to bring all this together. That's something that we're looking at as well.
Okay, very interesting. Angelica, when we're looking at sort of the benchmarks now that businesses need to set internally, what are the success metrics that you're committing to internally? What kind of promises are you making to your leadership?
Right. So first of all, assessing the outcomes of AI implementation of the business is a complex topic. And it has quantitative and qualitative metrics around. And this is the way how we're structuring this type of things. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're starting from understanding the objectives and understanding the objectives from the leadership. So, and how those objectives are connected to the company strategy. So what exactly we're trying to achieve here. Then there is another important component is to define the KPIs, the key performance indicators, and tie them to those objectives. Then a logical next step is to measure. So you really need to measure, first of all, starting from the as is, so before and after our process implementation. And this measurement needs to be very aligned to those objectives which you're trying to achieve. And this is tackling two topics. This is like helping to see the progression, but also to create the trust. And also to create the trust and pull from the organization that people really want to embrace this technology. Another important component of the measurement is financials, of course, because it had been discussed yesterday that it's not a cheap exercise of implementing this technology. And we do need to generate ROI. And there are some financial commitments which are tied to those KPIs. And when you can demonstrate that this technology is moving the needle with the KPIs, and then this is actually helping or even accelerating achieving the company objectives, this is the kind of methodology which helps to deliver the value. Other important component which we're looking at is a benchmarks. This is another important element because we are all, like as a commercial company, we are in the competitive advantage. We want to create a competitive advantage. So where we are and how we can embrace AI technology to be more competitive as well.
Sure. Are you seeing, what are you seeing in terms of challenges in setting up those KPIs though? Are they easy to set? Are they clear?
Well, there are challenges, and some of them are clear. Some of them are very, very straightforward, like inventory optimization, like service level improvement. Those are costs. Those are the classical KPIs, which is supply chain monitoring years and decades as well. So you can clearly set those objectives. What we are wrestling with and where I fundamentally believe the biggest value is coming is more broader business implications, which is tied to the decision making, to the holistic decision making in a way, which is less of the classical KPI type of driven thing. And it's not an easy to tie this to the AI thing. Another element which we also see happening, but it's not always easy to measure, this is the efficiency and effectiveness. That's about reducing efforts, reducing time, increasing speed, which is in combination very important. Specifically, I was reflecting, we discussed yesterday the volatility and volatile environment. So in the volatile environment, it's very important to make future-facing and data-driven decisions fast. Mm-hmm. And, what fast mean and how you can measure this?
Correct.
We do some components of this, but it's not always feasible, specifically when you implement multiple AI applications across big business.
Right.
So there is a bits of pieces of this efficiency everywhere. Some of them can be measured. Some of them are more intuitive. De facto, I would say that from our perspective, if you create some good measurements, mm-hmm. then you also create a trust.
Right.
And then organization is trusting that the rest is working as well. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's really valuable insight. I do have a few questions that I want to get into about access to technology, but I just want to give the audience a heads up. I think we will have a few minutes for questions. So do start thinking about questions for our amazing panelists, and we'll get a microphone to you when it's time for questions. So just moving back to the topic about access, Ashish, how do you make AI accessible within the organization, right? Because sometimes these come at a cost. Of course, you have some open source, free versions of some software, but if you want to use something in a protected environment, that comes at a cost. So how do you give everyone access to the tools to play with?
I think first and foremost, knowledge is access. If people can fully understand the power of AI, then the access becomes easy. We have capabilities within supply chain. We also have a function within Landmark, which is called Data Labs. We have the Landmark digital team. So from a tech capability perspective, we have the tech capability and access. For us, the access is more, the real power people will be able to access it is when they fully understand the power of it. And that's what I shared with you in the beginning, saying training people of what's the power of AI, getting them involved in terms of where the benefits will lie, and how the benefits come through, they owning the entire program, that to us is actually access. Technologies, we don't worry too much because one way of working may get you to 80%, one way of working may get to 85%. But if we are at 60, 70%, any technology that we use, and everyone's experimenting as well. So that benchmark of what is the right solution is also not known.
Right.
But very important is to be very sure of where you want to use it, how you want to use it. Technology is a available piece, at least for Landmark. We have a lot of tech capabilities in the organization.
So how do you go about sort of getting people then to understand? Is it about training? Is it about talking about it constantly within the business?
So what we did is, first is we got a small team which trained the entire teams, supply chain teams on what are types of AI. Then what we did is we used ChatGPT and we typed saying where all can AI work in supply chain in X, Y, Z, all the functions that we work in. So we shared, so everyone did that analysis on their own. Then they came up with ideas where the AI can be deployed. Then the entire team sat together and did a lot of brainstorming. It's a lot of effort, but it's also a lot of excitement.
I agree. I think it is a lot of effort. That path of, and we've talked about this on the panel already, just about engaging everybody at every step of the process. Absolutely a lot more effort, but I think you end up in a place where you have more robust systems, where there's more trust, where there is less resistance to change. Again, all key ingredients for success, I think.
I think too, on the like software side of it, so Ashish and Tim and Angelica, they're kind of absorbers of AI. But from our vantage point, I mean, our company uses AI, but we also look at how do we commercialize, how do we sell AI? It's a very interesting topic that's at the top levels of SAP and probably every other app company out there. We were in front of a customer a couple of weeks ago, and that example I talked about earlier with the category management, where you can click a button and it'll go pull all the market analysis and pull it into the system. And the customer said, well, every time someone clicks on that button, am I being charged?
Right.
And we said, yeah. So you have to think about the commercialization of it. We have something called AI credits that we give to our customers, and they can use so much of this, and then after a certain amount, but we're still trying to, it's so new in the app world that I think we're still trying to figure out all the commercial elements of it to make it beneficial to both, the customers and the provider.
And of course, that's such an important element for you as well. But how do you balance that with this conversation we're having about access? How do you get AI to the masses?
Right.
Because again, to generate value more broadly.
Yeah, I mean, we want to try to make it as easy as possible, right? Because we don't want to limit the AI to certain, segments of a company, right? Or certain personnel or users, right? So we want to find a commercial model that works for both parties. And I would say it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I'd like to open the floor to questions if there are any. Yes, there's a gentleman on the front. If we can get a microphone to him, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm coming from Canada, and I really appreciate your insights. My question is possible to pursue all those three goals together, efficiency, agility, and resilience? Or should we prioritize one of them or quit others? So I would like to ask if that is possible to pursue those three goals at the same time, or what is your practical experience on that? Thank you.
Angelica, or
No, I can pick this one. Well, they're kind of naturally coming across, to be honest, if you have a right setup of the AI technology. First of all, in terms of cost, so in the most of the cases, you tied your project to the specific deliverables in the business, and either it's a cost or the growth. There is another element. Either you want to use AI of reducing your cost base, and this is like then helping you to streamline the processes, to create efficiency, or you use your AI to make to gain more customers. So that's a growth component. So that's tied to these objectives. When you start implementing AI, you naturally see a lot of manual tasks in the processes, and these manual tasks are getting eliminated. It takes a bit of time and effort to set the data right. It takes a bit of time and effort to train your people and to drive adoption and gain this trust. But then suddenly you see that people were spending, a simple example, like people were spending time of just cascading the decisions. They were sending emails to each other and then reading these emails and then responding to those emails. And then you can suddenly eliminate this because the decisions are just getting populated to the respective users. So, I mean, with the right combination, it's all together.
Thank you, Angelica. Yes, there's a gentleman there.
Hi, my name's Aneeb. I have a question for the panel. If you could share what is the target vision for your organizational AI roadmap, what does absolute success look like?
Ashish, do you
I
want?
can take that, yeah. See, your vision starts from the company that you are in. Like you may know that Landmark is one of the largest retailers in the region, 2,200 stores, 11 million square feet of warehousing space and all of that. Now, within that context is a supply chain vision, where what we say is we want to be a world-class supply chain where every action, every activity, every decision is customer backwards, is cost optimized, and is based on maths and science. Now, AI to me is an end to achieving this vision. There are many things that will come together in this pursuit of this large vision, and AI is just a part of it. So when we work with goals and when we define the plan for AI, what we ask ourselves is it improving customer experience? Is it reducing cost? Is it making the way of working for supply chain more scientific? So the AI vision, we don't have a separate AI vision. We look at the supply chain, the company objectives, the supply chain vision, and where does AI help in achieving this? So that's how we look at it.
Yeah, which is really nice because, again, a lot of our panelists said yesterday, it's a tool for success. It's not a separate element or a group within your business. So I think that's a great point. Yes, there's another question here, please.
Thank you so much. I mean, my question is actually to build on the colleagues' questions and answers, and I would like to address it to Ashish and Angelica. So from an ROI perspective, how do you describe AI today? Is it nice to have, good to have, or it's already a must-have optimization tool? Thank you.
ROI, that tricky question, but
No, it's, I mean, I can start and then, my colleague will complement on this one. Well, first of all, I start with the nice to have and, or not. I fundamentally believe that it's not an option currently. The technology is developing on such a speed and such a way that if companies, and I'm talking about corporate business, of course, if companies is not embracing AI technology, they will be, not competitive. So for the success, it's not an option. The question is like how you start, how you define your priorities, how quick you can progress. And then, of course, the balance between cost and benefits. In terms of ROI, well, we are calculating ROI, and PepsiCo is a very organized company in terms of delivering results. And this ROI is tied to the efficiency, to the growth of the company, depending on the use case, of course. So you can, as I was mentioning before, you start with the clear KPI sets. So you try to assess an example which I was bringing with the cheetahs. So the ROI is coming from you're getting better product, so you guarantee the quality for your customers, and this is like the loyalty, which is, I would say, like is less tangible. You can't really convert this with the classical tools to the money. But then you're reducing waste, and you're reducing the headcount on the line. And then you're increasing your production speed because you're not stopping the line if you need to correct your machines. So that's one of the examples. So there is always a set of the parameters which you are influencing directly, and you can calculate this. While in our experience, it's not full. There is a bigger benefits which are coming across, and we are struggling yet to kind of detect them in the beginning. So you really observe them through the process.
Thank you so much. And unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you very much for all of what I think are really practical insights that have come out of this panel. Please join me in thanking our panelists.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.